YouTube, it's Pixie here, and I want to welcome you to my little planet. Today I am so excited because I found out that it is National Fairy Tale Day, which I didn't know existed, but I've been wanting to do a whisper video where I read you all a book. So I am super excited because this just matches up so well. So today I am going to be reading you a story from the Grimms Fairytale book. So these are not your traditional fairy tales, they are the Grimms version, but I'm really excited to pick one out. So I have the book, Grimm's Complete Fairy Tales, and I have been wanting to read a story from this book for a while. I picked it up at a local secondhand thrift store kind of thing, and when I saw it, I knew I needed this book. So you are giving me a reason to read it. Let's look at a couple of the stories that are in the book and pick one out to read. It has a lot of stories, so I'm just going to scan through and find ones that I really like. They have some classic tales that Disney uses, like Rumpelstiltskin, Snow White and Red Rose, which is a story that my mother used to read me when I was little. So I may pick that one. They also have Cinderella. They have The Old Woman in the Wood. I don't know that one. But I think I'm going to go with Snow White and Rose Red. That is on page 241. And we may pick a second story if we have some time. So let's get over to page 241. Let's get started. Snow White and Rose Red. There was once a poor widow who lived in a lonely cottage. In front of the cottage there was a garden which stood 2 rose trees. One bore white and the other bore red. She had 2 children who were just like those rose trees. One was called Snow White and the other was called Rose Red. They were as good and happy, as busy and cheerful as ever 2 children in the world were. Only Snow White was more gentle and quiet than Rose Red. Rose Red liked better to run about the meadows and fields seeking flowers and catching butterflies. But Snow White sat at home and helped her mother. She helped her do housework, or would read to her when there was nothing else to do. The 2 children were so fond of each other. Snow White would say, "We will not leave each other," and Rose Red would answer, "Never, as long as we live." They often ran about the forest alone. They would gather berries, and no beast did them any harm. They came close to the girls, trustfully. The little hare would eat cabbage out of their hands. The doe grazed by their side, the stag leapt merrily by them, and the birds sat upon the boughs and sang whenever they knew. No mishap overtook them. If they had stayed too late in the forest and the night came on, they would lay themselves down near one another upon the moss, and they would sleep until morning came. And their mother knew this and had no distress on their account. Once, when they had spent the night in the woods and dawn had roused them, they saw a beautiful child in a shining white dress sitting near their bed. He got up and looked quietly. He said, "Nothing." He just went away into the forest. and sleeping quite close to a precipice, and would certainly have fallen into the darkness if they had gone only a few paces further, and that their mother told them that there must have been an angel who watches over good children. Snow White and Rose Red kept their mother's little cottage so neat that it was a pleasure to look inside. In the summer, Rose Red took care of the house, and every morning laid a wreath of flowers by her mother's bed before she woke, in which was a rose from each of the trees. In the winter, Snow White would light the fire and hang the kettle in the wrecking. The kettle was of copper and shone like gold so brightly, it was polished so well. In the evening, when the snowflakes fell, the mother said, "Go, Snow White, and bolt the door." And they sat around the hearth, and the mother took her spectacles and read out of a large book, and the two girls, they listened, they sat, and they span. And close by them lay a lamb upon the door, and behind them was perched a white dove with its head hidden beneath its wings. One evening, as they were sitting comfortably together, someone knocked on the door as if he wished to be let in. The mother said, "Quick, Rose Red, open the door. It must be a traveler who is seeking some shelter." Rose Red went, and she pushed back the bolt, thinking it was a poor man. But it was not. It was a bear that had stretched his broad black head within the door. Rose Red screamed, and she sprang back. The lamb, it rose, and the dove fluttered, and Snow White hid herself behind the mother's bed. But the bear began to speak and said, "Do not be afraid. I will do you no harm. I am half frozen, and I only want to warm myself a little beside you." "Poor bear," the mother said. "Lie down by the fire. Only take care that you do not burn your coat." Then she cried, "Snow White, Rose Red, come out." So they both came out, and by the lamb and dove came nearer, and they were not afraid of him. The bear said, "Here, children, knock the snow out of my coat a little." So they brought a broom, and they swept the bear's hide and cleaned him. He stretched himself by the fire and growled, content and comfortable. It was not long before they grew quite at home and played tricks with their clumsy guests. They tugged at his fur, and their hands, they put their feet beyond his back and rolled him about. Or they took a little hazel switch and beat him, and he growled, but laughed. But the bear took it all in good part, only when they were a little too rough he would call out, "Leave me be, children." When it was bedtime and the others had gone to bed, the mother said to the bear, "You can lie here by the hearth, and you will be safe from the cold and bad weather." As soon as day dawned, the two children let him out, and he trotted across the snow into the forest. In the forest, the bear came every evening at the same time. He laid himself down by the hearth and let the children amuse themselves with him. He would grow to like them very much, and they got used to him, so that the doors were never fastened until the bear had arrived. When spring had come and all outside was green, the bear said one morning to Snow White, "Now I must go, and I cannot come back for the whole summer." "Where are you going then, dear bear?" asked Snow White. "I must go into the forest and guard my treasures from the wicked dwarfs. In the winter, when the earth is frozen hard, they are obliged to stay below and cannot work their way through. But now the sun has thawed and warmed the earth. They break through it, and they come out to prey and steal. And once they get their hands on it and into my caves, does not easily see daylight again." Snow White was quite sorry for his going away, and she unbolted the door for him, and the bear hurried out. He was caught against the pole, and a piece of his hairy coat was torn off, and it seemed that Snow White had seen gold shining through it, but she was not sure. The bear ran away quickly, and soon was out of her sight and behind the trees. A short time afterwards, the mother sent her children into the forest to get firewood. There they found a big tree which lay felled on the ground, and close by the trunk, sometimes jumping backwards and forwards into the grass. But they could not make out what it was. When they came near, they saw that this was a dwarf, an old withered face and a snow-white beard a yard long. The end of the beard was caught in a crevice of a tree, and the little fellow was jumping back and forth like a dog tied to a rope. He did not know what to do. He glared at the girls with his fiery red eyes and cried, "Why do you just stand there? Can you not help me?" "What are you about there, little man?" asked Rose Red. "You stupid prying goose," answered the dwarf. "I am going to split the tree to get a little wood for cooking. The little bit of food that one of us wants gets burnt up so easy with these thick logs. We do not swallow so much as you coarse, greedy folks. I have just driven the wedge safely in, and everything was going as I wished. But this wrecked wood was too smooth, and suddenly it sprang a thunder, and the tree closed so quickly that I could not pull my beautiful white beard out. The children tried very hard, but they could not pull the beard out. It was caught too fast. "I will run and fetch someone," said Rose Red. "You senseless goose," snarled the dwarf. "Why would you fetch someone? You are already too many for me. You cannot think of something better." "Don't be impatient," said Snow White. "I will help you." And she pulled her scissors out of her pocket and cut off the end of the beard. As soon as the dwarf felt himself free, he laid hold of the bag which lay amongst the roots of the tree, which was full of gold, and he lifted up, grumbling to himself, "Uncut people, to cut off a piece of my fine beard. Bad luck to you." And then he swung the bag across his back and went without even looking at the children once. Some time after that, Snow White and Rose Red went to catch a dish of fish, and they came back to the brook, and they saw something like a large grasshopper jumping towards the water, as if it were going to leap in. They ran to it, and what they saw was a dwarf. "What are you doing?" said Rose Red. "You surely don't want to get into the water." "I am not such a fool," cried the dwarf. "You don't see that a cursed fish wants to pull me in." The little man had been sitting there fishing, and unlucky, the wind had twisted his beard with the fishing line. Just then a big fish bit, and a feeble creature had not the strength to pull it out. The fish kept up with the upper hand and pulled the dwarf towards him. He held all he had onto the reeds and rushes, but it was very little good. He was forced to follow the movements of the fish, and he was in urgent danger of being dragged into the water. The girls had come just in time. They held him fast and tried to free him from the beard, but it was all in vain. Beard and line were too entangled together. Nothing was left but to bring out the scissors and cut his beard, whereas a small part of it was lost. When the dwarf saw that his beard was gone, he screamed out, "Is that civil, you toadstool, to deface one's face?" He was not happy. "It was not enough to clip the end of my beard. Now you have cut off the best part of it. I cannot let myself be seen by my people. I wish you had made to run the soles of our shoes." Then he took a sack of pearls which lay in the rushes, and without saying one more word, he dragged it away and disappeared behind a stone. It happened that soon afterwards that the mother sent the two children out of town to buy needles and thread, laces and ribbons. The road had led them across a heath upon which huge pieces of rock lay strewn. Now they noticed a large bird hovering in the air, flying slowly around and around above them. It sank lower and lower, and the last settled near a rock not far away. Directly afterwards they heard a loud, portentous cry. They ran up, and they saw with horror that the eagle had seized their old acquaintance, the dwarf, and was carrying him off. The children, full of pity, at once took tight a hold of the man and pulled against the eagle so long as he let go of his sack, and the dwarf would be recovered from the first fight. He cried with a shrill voice, "Could you not have done it more carefully? You dragged my brown coat, and it is now torn and full of holes, you helpless, clumsy creatures." He then took a sackful of his precious stones and slipped away underneath the rock and into his hole. The girls, who by this time were used to his thanklessness, went on their way and did their business in town. As they crossed the heath again on their way home, they were surprised that the dwarf, who had emptied out his bag of precious stones in a clean spot, had not thought that anyone would come there so late. The evening sun shone upon the brilliant stones. They glittered and sparkled with all colors so beautifully that the children stood there looking at them. "Why do you stand there gaping?" cried the dwarf, and his ash-gray face became copper-red with rage. He was going on about his bad words when a loud growl was heard, and the bear came trotting towards them out of the forest. The dwarf sprang up in a fright. He could not get away into his cave, for the bear was already close. Then the dread of his heart, he cried, "Mr. Bear, spare me. I will give you all of my treasures. Look at the beautiful jewels laying here." "Grant my life. What do you want with me, such a slender little fellow as I? You would not feel me between your teeth. Please, for mercy's sake." The bear looked no heed of his words, but gave the wicked creature a single blow with his paw, and he did not move again. The girls had run away, but the bear called to them, "Snow White, Rose Red, do not be afraid. Wait, I will come with you." They then knew his voice, and they waited. When they came up, suddenly his bearskin fell off, and he stood there, a handsome man, cloaked in gold. "I am the king's son," he said, "and I was bewitched by that wicked dwarf that stole all my treasures. I have had to run about the forest as a savage bear until I was freed by his death. Now that he is gone, and his well-deserved punishment, Snow White was married to him. Rose Red married his brother, and they divided between them the great treasure which the dwarf had gathered, and together in the cave. The old mother lived peacefully and happy with her children for many years. She took the 2 rose trees with her, and they stood before her window. Every year they bore the most beautiful roses, both white and red. That is the first story. That is the story of Snow White and Rose Red, or at least the Grimms Fairytale version. My mother used to read me the more upbeat children's story, Rose Red and Snow White, when I was a child, and I loved that book. And I love the Grimms Fairytale version, even though it is a tad bit more dark than a children's story. So I really hope that you liked reading this book with me today. I plan on making a little bit more of these types of videos. But for today, I wanted to just get a fairy tale out to you guys, and hopefully it can help you relax before bed. Again, I want to wish you all a happy fairy tale day. So you have to let me know if you like these types of videos.